Chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Gosar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Ash and Solicitor Tompkins, for talking about the rule of law and how it applies. So I'm going to deviate just like my colleague on the other side did. So, Mr. Ash, how many species has the Fish and Wildlife Service proposed to list as endangered during the tenure of President Barack Obama?
I don't have that information.
Let me set this straight since we're limited on time. 107 different species, particularly 23 in Arizona. So let's go to the second question. How many species does the Fish and Wildlife Service propose to list as endangered by 2016?
Again, I don't have that.
Well, let me answer the question for you again. You have the mega settlement of 779 species designated in critical habitat in 50 states and Puerto Rico. Most of those will be, probably not all of them.
But that's not a proposal. That is not a proposal.
It's a mega settlement. So,
but it's not a proposal.
You know, the thing about it is we've seen the tendency, so pretty much most of those will go through. Does the Fish and Wildlife Service always perform an economic impact analysis before designating critical habitat in a listing of endangered species?
Yes.
Really? Wow. So, Then why did you tell Chairman Hastings and Subcommittee Chairman Bishop in a meeting 2.5 months ago that the Fish and Wildlife Service does their listings decisions based on science, not economic impact?
Our listing decision is based on science, and we cannot consider economic or other effects. Critical habitat, which was your question, we do consider economic and other factors associated with that decision.
Well, I'm just going to fast forward then because this gets fun. So what is the total economic impact and how many jobs will be killed as a result of the 107 different species that have been proposed by the listing since 2011?
Again, when we make listing determinations, we do not and cannot under the law look at economic effects.
But you also have to look at it as in the designation, do you not? You're required by, let me repeat, in Section 4B2 of the Endangered Species Act, you're required to. Yeah, you are. So,
no, I mean, again,
I guess you're not an attorney, but she is, and that's probably the law. I'm not an attorney either.
When we designate,
I'm really fascinated by this aspect. I'm getting to a point here because it's very specific to my area. So why did the service fail to hold a public comment period, consult with states and other local stakeholders, or do an economic impact statement prior to releasing the Strategic Hatchery and Workforce Planning Report last November?
The Strategic Hatchery Workforce Planning process
last November
was an internal process to consider how we would react.
But you know what? It fundamentally changed the National Fish Hatchery System, did it not?
It did not, because we have not had to implement it.
Oh, it didn't. Okay, so let's go back to that. You said it didn't. So last October, the Fish and Wildlife Service ceased production of rainbow trout at the Willow Beach National Fish Hatchery, citing waterline failures. At the time, the agency stated they didn't have the $1.5 to the $8.5 million to repair the broken water supply line. Recent engineering reports indicate that these estimates were a gross exaggeration, and the broken water line could be fixed for as little as $100,000. 1,700 jobs and a $75 million economic output associated with the Willow Beach are at stake in Mojave County, Arizona. Does the agency plan to appropriate money to fix the water supply line?
Our people have been meeting with the state and
yes or no? It's an easy question. Yes or no?
It's not an easy question.
It is a very easy question.
It is not an easy question.
Okay, then explain to me, did the agency consider the jobs and associated impact before terminating this program?
We did not terminate.
Yes, you did.
Congressman, we had a catastrophic failure in the water supply for the hatchery. We did not
wait a
terminate.
minute, catastrophic. It's $100,000, and these are engineers that have sat down and then showed your engineers exactly what goes on in regards to this water line.
That $100,000 estimate is completely false. It cannot be.
Sir, I want to remind you, think about what you're saying here. It has nothing to do with $100,000. It has everything to do with $100,000. Your estimate was pathetic. And the engineers that looked at this over and over again said that you're looking at this in a whole different light.
Mr. Labrador, let me get this back.
Dr. Gosar, by the way.
We're working with the community to see how we can address the operations at that fish hatchery. And if we can do it, and if we can make the engineering work, and if we have the resources, then we will open the facility. But it's also the possibility that we may not be able to, and we're also working with the state and the community to find out how we can produce those fish, because it's the
So
fish.
you're going to, let me ask you and then cut in because my time's limited. So we'll go back to rearing a rainbow trout in that fish hatchery.
We are doing everything we can do to
Yes or no?
try to get to that place.
Yes or no? Rainbow trout in the,
We are trying to get to that place.
yeah, thank you.